When I stepped into the room, the alien girl was breathless. Mom. It's him. Evan Brooks stepped off the small transport and onto the alien station. The air smelled strange, a mix of metallic ozone and something sweet he could not name. His boots made a soft echo on the smooth floor as he walked down the wide hallway. He could feel 1,000 eyes on him, though no one spoke. He tried not to let it bother him, but the quiet tension was unusual. The station was enormous. Towers of glass and metal curved upward like the ribs of a giant creature. Lights blinked softly along the walls, and strange symbols glowed on panels. Evan had seen alien technology before, but this was different. It felt alive. He passed through a doorway and entered a large chamber. The room was bright but not harsh. A soft light came from above, diffused like sunlight through a cloudy sky. Rows of beings, some tall, some short, some with skin that shimmered like liquid silver, were seated silently. They did not move as he entered. His boots made a sound against the floor, and a few of them shifted their heads slightly. That was all. Then he saw her. A young alien woman, maybe the same age as him, stood near the middle of the room. Her skin was pale green, almost glowing under the light, and her eyes were wide and round, darker than any human eyes. She looked at him with her mouth slightly open. She was frozen. Evan paused, unsure what to do. He could feel the room's silence pressing on him. He had been in tense meetings before, even in hostile situations, but this was different. There was no anger, no threat. There was only shock, like someone had seen a ghost. Her mother, standing behind her, whispered something that Evan could not hear. He thought he saw a small nod, almost like a warning. Then the young woman gasped and stepped back, holding onto her mother's arm. She said something in her language, but Evan could not understand. Her eyes never left him. The room felt smaller suddenly. All the other aliens turned their faces toward him, some with curiosity, some with respect, some with quiet fear. He felt the weight of their attention. Evan tried to remember what he had been told about this meeting. This was supposed to be a diplomatic visit, a simple introduction. Nothing about his past should matter. Yet everything about this room, the way they looked at him, told him that it did. He cleared his throat and said, "I'm Evan Brooks. I come in peace. I only want to meet and talk." A few of the council members whispered among themselves, their voices low and musical. Evan could not understand a word, but he felt their approval, or at least curiosity, growing. The young woman, however, still did not speak. She only stared. Her mother, an older alien with silver streaks in her hair, stepped forward. She spoke in a calm voice, and the sound was soft but strong. Evan did not understand the words, but her tone was kind. She looked at her daughter, then back at him. The young woman finally found her voice. She said something that sounded like a question. Her eyes were full of recognition, fear, and wonder all at once. Then she repeated it, louder this time, and her mother nodded. Evan caught one word, spoken with such awe that it froze him for a moment. Him. He frowned. Him. What did she mean? He looked at the girl more closely. There was something familiar in her expression, something he could not place. He tried to smile to make himself appear less intimidating. "I'm just a visitor," he said slowly. "I don't think I know you." The girl's eyes widened even more. She whispered to her mother again, and then she gasped so loudly that the room seemed to startle. She pointed at Evan. "Mom, it's him." The room went completely silent again. Even the council members stopped whispering. All eyes were on Evan. He felt a chill run down his spine. What had he done? What did she mean by that? Myra, the mother, spoke again, slower this time, her hands raised in a gesture that seemed to calm the young woman. Evan could see the young alien's breathing quicken. She was excited, scared, and something else he could not name. The mother's eyes met Evan's, and for a moment he felt something deep and strange, like an unspoken story was reaching across the years to him. He took a careful step forward. "Please, if you can understand me, tell me why. Why are you looking at me like that?" The girl's lips trembled. She shook her head, unable to speak. Myra, her mother, placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Then she looked at Evan and spoke again. This time the tone carried a mixture of respect and history, of gratitude and awe. Evan felt a strange pull in his chest, like he was stepping into a memory he had not lived but somehow knew. Then it came to him. The stories he had heard from other humans, from officers long retired. He remembered bits and pieces from the reports. Years ago, in a distant star system, a small human team had risked everything to rescue a group of aliens from destruction. He had been there. Not just there, he had led the team. And somehow, someway, this young woman had survived because of him. Evan's throat went dry. Could it be her? The girl he had carried through burning corridors, the one whose hand he had held while the enemy fell around them. She could not be old enough, yet the timing matched. He looked at her again and he thought he saw recognition, the same recognition he felt when he remembered saving her. He swallowed hard. "It's you, isn't it?" he asked softly, not sure if it was real. The girl's eyes glistened. She nodded and a small smile broke through her fear. She whispered something to her mother again, her voice trembling. Myra nodded once more, and then the mother spoke to Evan in clear, accented English. "He remembers you," she said. "You saved her life." Evan felt a strange warmth, relief, surprise, and a quiet happiness all mixed together. He had never thought he would meet anyone from that mission again. The chances were almost zero, and yet here she was, alive. The young woman, Lyra, took a cautious step forward. Her eyes never left his. "I remember," she whispered. I was a child. You carried me. You saved me." Evan nodded slowly. "I remember too," he said. "I never forgot." He took another step closer, but careful not to frighten her. The room seemed to hold its breath again, waiting. Other council members murmured softly among themselves. Evan could feel their curiosity, but he ignored it for now. All that mattered was the girl in front of him, alive and breathing, a living reminder of what humans could do when they risked everything for others. Lyra finally smiled fully, a mix of joy and disbelief. She looked at her mother and then back at Evan. I thought humans were far away, that no one would remember us," she said. "I never dreamed it would be you." Evan felt his chest tighten. "We don't forget," he said simply. "Not the people we save, not the lives we touch." The mother, Myra, spoke again, and this time Evan understood every word. "You risked your life for hers," she said, "and for that our people are forever in your debt." Evan nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He had been a soldier, trained to fight and survive, but nothing had prepared him for this. This was gratitude beyond anything he had known, from someone who had seen life and death up close because of him. Lyra stepped closer. She looked at him with awe, curiosity, and something softer, something almost like hope. "I have dreamed of meeting you again," she said quietly. "All these years I remembered you." Evan swallowed. He had not expected this. Not after so many years, not after all the battles, the missions, the losses. And yet here she was, alive and looking at him as if he were a hero, not just a soldier. "I'm glad you're safe," he said, his voice calm but steady. "That's all I ever wanted." The council members remained quiet, watching the exchange. Some were curious, some wary, some respectful, but Evan did not care. For a moment nothing else mattered. He saw in her eyes the child he had saved and the adult she had become. That connection, forged years ago in the fire of battle, was still there. The room seemed less strange now, less imposing. The lights did not feel alien. The weight of hundreds of eyes did not feel heavy. All that mattered was the girl in front of him, breathing, alive, and remembering. For the first time in many years, Evan felt a strange peace. The mission had been dangerous, terrifying, and chaotic. Lives had been lost, sacrifices had been made. But one life had survived because of him, and that life now stood before him, a living reminder of what courage and humanity could achieve. Lyra reached out her hand, hesitant but certain. "I never thought I would see you again," she said. "I never thought I would meet the human who saved me." Evan took her hand gently, careful not to startle her. "I never thought I would either," he said. "But here we are, and I promise I will never forget you." The room exhaled with them. The council members relaxed slightly, some nodding in quiet acknowledgement. The moment was simple, yet powerful. A human and an alien, connected by bravery, survival, and memory. For Evan, the first step into the room had changed everything. He had come expecting a simple meeting, perhaps some polite introductions. Instead, he had found a piece of his past, alive and breathing, staring at him in awe and recognition. And in that moment, he realized something he had not expected, that the smallest acts of courage could echo across time and space, touching lives in ways he could never have imagined. And the girl, Lyra, could barely speak from emotion. She only smiled, her breath catching, her eyes wide, her heart racing. "Mom," she whispered silently in her mind, "it is him." After the initial shock faded, the young alien girl, Lyra, stood a little straighter. Her mother, Myra, placed a gentle hand on her shoulder and gave her a nod, as if encouraging her to speak. Evan watched carefully. He could see the tension in Lyra's shoulders, the rapid movement of her chest as she tried to calm her breathing. It had been years since that rescue mission, and yet the memory of that day seemed alive for both of them. Myra spoke softly, and this time Evan could follow her words. "You were very young," she said. "Too young to remember everything, but the humans remembered. And one human in particular saved you." She looked directly at Evan, her eyes steady. "It was you." Evan felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had expected gratitude, perhaps, but the sincerity of her voice caught him off guard. "I only did what anyone would have done," he said quietly. "I didn't think about being remembered, I just acted." Lyra's eyes glistened. "You don't understand," she said. "I remember it too. I remember the corridors, the smoke, the alarms. I remember seeing your face, your hand reaching out for me. I was scared, but when you held me, I felt safe. You saved my life, and I never forgot that feeling." Evan swallowed hard. He could see her remembering the images of a child's fear, a desperate escape, and a stranger who became her protector. The thought that she remembered him clearly after so many years made the moment feel unreal. Myra continued, speaking slowly so Evan could understand. "Our people have told this story for years, how a human saved a child, how one human stood against the enemies when all seemed lost. We never thought we would see you again." The weight of her words pressed on Evan. He had served on many missions, faced enemies, and saved people before, but rarely had he seen the results of his actions so directly. Rarely had he met someone who remembered the moment so vividly, someone whose life had been changed forever because of what he had done. Lyra took another step forward, her voice trembling slightly. "I was afraid of everything that day. I didn't understand what was happening, but then I saw you, and I knew someone was there to help me." Her eyes met his, searching for confirmation. "You didn't just save me, you gave me hope." Evan shook his head slowly. "I didn't think of it that way at the time. I just knew I couldn't leave you behind." He paused, remembering the chaos of the mission, the alarms, the screams, the smoke, the fire. "I just did what had to be done." Lyra's mother, Myra, stepped closer. "That was more than courage," she said. "That was humanity. You risked your life for someone you barely knew, and that is why humans are respected by our people. That is why your arrival here changes everything." Evan glanced around the room. The council members were listening quietly, their faces serious. Some were nodding slightly, others observing with careful curiosity. For a moment, Evan realized he was not just meeting a girl who had survived his mission. He was meeting her people, a whole civilization that had been saved because of him. Lyra's eyes softened. She looked at Evan with a mixture of awe and gratitude. "I thought I had only dreamed of this day," she said. "I never imagined I would actually meet you. I wanted to tell you thank you, but words never seemed enough." Evan smiled faintly. "You don't have to thank me. Just seeing you alive is thanks enough." He felt a lump in his throat, something he rarely experienced as a soldier. It was a mixture of relief, pride, and something softer, something like connection. The council members began to speak among themselves, quietly, in low tones. Myra gestured to them, and the room seemed to quiet once again. She turned back to Evan. "There is more you should know," she said. "That day, it was not only a rescue, it was the start of a story that changed our world." Evan listened intently. He had expected thanks, maybe curiosity, but not a history lesson. Myra's voice carried weight, calm and deliberate, as she began to explain. "Your actions that day allowed many of us to escape," she said. "You saved children, elders, and leaders. You risked your life when our cities were under attack. Our people rebuilt from that day because humans intervened. Many of us would not have survived without your courage." Evan's mind drifted back to the mission. He remembered the fire and smoke, the screams, the chaos, and the small, terrified hand he had held. He had focused on the immediate danger, on survival, on getting everyone to safety. He had not thought of the long-term impact, how one small act could ripple across years and planets. Lyra stepped closer, her hand brushing lightly against his arm. "I was a child," she said softly. "I didn't understand what was happening, but I remember your voice. I remember your hand. I remember you carrying me through the corridors. I never forgot that day. You became part of my story." Evan looked at her, amazed. "I never thought I would hear that," he said. "I thought those days were gone, lost in memory. But seeing you now, I understand that it matters, that it really mattered." Myra nodded. "It did, and it still does. We tell our children about that day. We tell them about the human who stood against impossible odds, and now you are here. To remind us, to show us that courage is not only a story, it is real, it walks among us." Evan felt a deep humility. He had been trained to fight, to lead, to survive, but never had he expected this. To see someone alive because of his actions, to meet them years later, to hear the story from them, it was overwhelming. Lyra's voice broke his thoughts. "I want to show you something," she said. "Something you helped create." She gestured to the room behind her. Evan turned and saw the walls lined with images, paintings, drawings, holograms. Each one told a story. Humans arriving, fighting alongside alien defenders, children being saved, cities being rebuilt. Each image carried a piece of memory, a piece of history. Evan walked slowly along the wall, his eyes scanning the scenes. Each one made his heart tighten. He saw children he did not recognize, elders who had survived, leaders who were still alive because of the rescue. And in every image, in every story, he saw the impact of his choices, the weight of his courage, the real meaning of human bravery. Lyra followed beside him, her voice soft. "All of this, all of it exists because of you. Because of that day, because of your team. Humans saved us when all seemed lost. And now we remember, we honor it." Evan nodded, unable to speak at first. The sheer scope of what had happened, the lives saved, the stories told, the civilizations touched, was more than he had imagined. He had only focused on survival, on the mission, on completing the task. He had not thought of the legacy it would leave behind. Myra placed a hand on his shoulder. "You may think it was only one day, one mission, but for us, it was a turning point. One human, one choice, one life saved, changed everything, and we will never forget it." Evan felt a mixture of pride and humility. He had been trained to act, to lead, to fight. But never had he realized how a single act of courage could ripple across time, across worlds, across generations. He looked at Lyra, standing beside him, and understood that she was the living proof of what humans could do. Lyra's eyes met his, bright and steady. "I want to learn from you," she said. "I want to understand how you think, how you act, how you make choices that change everything. You saved me, but I want to learn how to make a difference too." Evan smiled faintly. "It is not always easy," he said. "Sometimes you have to make hard choices. Sometimes you have to risk everything. But courage matters. It can change the outcome even when all seems lost." The room remained quiet. The council members listened, Lyra listened, Myra watched with approval. For Evan, it felt like a moment suspended in time. A story had begun years ago, and now he was seeing the next chapter unfold before his eyes. He remembered the fear in the corridors, the chaos of alarms, the fire and smoke. He remembered the child he carried. And now he saw the adult she had become, shaped by those memories, shaped by his actions, shaped by human courage. Evan realized something important. It was not just about saving lives in the moment. It was about what those lives became, how they remembered, how they acted, how the story continued. One small act of bravery could echo across years and planets, leaving a mark that nothing else could replace. Lyra looked at him with a mixture of awe and determination. "I will never forget," she said, "and I will try to honor what you did, what you gave us. I will not forget the human who saved my life." Evan nodded, feeling a quiet satisfaction. He had faced battles, danger, and fear. But nothing compared to this moment, seeing the results of his courage, seeing someone alive because of his choice, seeing hope where there had been despair. Myra spoke once more, her voice soft but firm. "This is the beginning of a new chapter," she said. "A chapter where humans and our people can work together, where courage and trust can build something greater. And it starts with you, Evan Brooks." Evan looked at her, then at Lyra. He felt the weight of responsibility, the promise of what could come next. But for now, he allowed himself a moment to simply be present, to see the life he had saved, to hear the gratitude, to understand the power of his actions. The past had returned to him in a living form. And in that moment, he knew that the smallest acts of courage could truly change the course of history. The calm in the chamber did not last long. Just as Evan was starting to relax, a sudden alarm rang through the station. It was a high-pitched, urgent sound that made the lights flicker. Council members jumped to their feet, their voices rising in alarm. Lyra clutched her mother's hand, her wide eyes filled with fear. Evan instinctively moved to the center of the room. "What is happening?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. Myra shook her head. "It is difficult to explain quickly," she said. "There is a threat at the outer rings of the station. Our defenses are failing. We do not know if we can stop them." The room erupted with noise. Aliens shouted to each other, pointing at screens and holograms that showed fleets approaching the station. Evan stepped forward and raised his hands to get their attention. "Calm down," he said. "Panic will only make this worse. Tell me what you have and I can help." A younger council member, her skin pale blue and her eyes sharp, turned to him. "We have scanners showing multiple ships approaching fast. They are armed with energy weapons. Our defense arrays are partially damaged from a previous skirmish. We are not ready for full combat." Evan nodded, taking in the information quickly. "How many ships?" he asked. "More than 50, the council member said, her voice trembling. "We cannot handle them alone." Evan felt a familiar surge of determination. Years of training, years of leading soldiers through impossible situations kicked in. He knew fear could paralyze people, but clarity and action could save lives. He stepped closer to the council, his voice steady. "You need a plan," he said. "One that uses what you have, not what you wish you had. Your defense arrays are damaged, but we can use what is left to create choke points. We can funnel their ships into areas where your weapons will have the most effect. You need to coordinate. No one acts alone." Myra watched him closely, then nodded. "You speak like a human general," she said. "Can you really help us?" Evan gave a small, confident smile. "I have done it before," he said. "Not with 50 ships, but with far less. Humans know how to work as a team. We know how to use strategy when the odds are against us. You follow my instructions and we can survive this." The council members hesitated, then began to organize. Aliens ran to control panels, adjusted shields, and prepared weapons. Lyra stayed close to her mother, watching Evan carefully. She had always remembered him as brave, but now she could see he had not changed. He was calm, focused, and ready to act when others panicked. Evan moved to one of the stations and looked at the screens. The approaching fleet was fast, aggressive, and well-armed. He quickly calculated trajectories and timing. They will split into two groups, he said. The first group will try to breach the main gate. The second group will attack from the rear. We cannot defend both at once. But we can set a trap. The younger council member nodded. We can collapse the defense barriers to funnel them through the main gate, she said. Then we can focus our firepower. Good, Evans said. Then we need your fastest ships to create diversions. Smaller, agile vessels that can confuse the enemy. Draw them away from the station until our main defenses are ready. Lyra watched him, her admiration growing. He was still the same human who had saved her all those years ago. Calm in chaos, thinking clearly, leading without fear. She could see why he had become a hero in her people's stories. As the station prepared, a sudden explosion shook the walls. Dust fell from the ceiling, and alarms blared even louder. Council members cried out and some fell to their knees. Evan stayed standing. "Keep focused," he shouted. "Panic is the enemy here. Use what you have, not what you wish you had." He moved to a holographic map and pointed at incoming ships. "Here, here, and here," he said, marking the paths. "Your weapons are strongest at these points. Position your ships and fire in coordinated volleys. Timing is everything. Do not fire alone. Fire together and we can destroy more than we think." Myra nodded. "We will follow your plan," she said. "But why do you do this? Why risk your life again for us?" Evan looked at her, then at Lyra. "Because someone helped you once," he said. "And when someone needs help, you do what you can. That is what humans do. Courage is not about fighting alone. It is about standing when others cannot. And I am standing." The council members moved quickly. Aliens took command of ships, activated energy shields, and prepared weapon batteries. Lyra watched closely as Evan coordinated the efforts, giving instructions calmly, observing every movement. She realized that courage was not loud or flashy. It was steady, precise, and focused. The first wave of enemy ships appeared on the sensors. They moved fast, firing energy beams that scorched the outer hull of the station. Aliens shouted, trying to redirect fire. Evan's voice cut through the chaos. "Focus fire, do not scatter. Hold the line until I say release." The aliens obeyed. At first it was difficult. The enemy ships were numerous and aggressive. Several smaller defense vessels were destroyed. But slowly, under Evan's guidance, the tide began to turn. The enemy ships were funneled into narrow channels, where the station's weapons could hit them with maximum effect. Explosions rocked the field, fire and sparks lighting the void outside the station. Lyra could hardly believe her eyes. She had heard stories of human courage, but seeing it in action was different. Evan moved among the command stations, adjusting shields, coordinating fire, giving clear instructions to every ship. He was calm, never shouting, always observing, always thinking. Myra placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "He is extraordinary," she whispered. "This is the human who saved your life, and now he is saving all of us." Evan spotted a group of enemy ships trying to flank the station. He quickly calculated the timing. "We have to draw them in," he said. "Send the smaller ships to lure them past the defense arrays. Then hit them from both sides." A group of alien pilots followed his orders, weaving through enemy fire. The enemy took the bait and Evan gave the command. Now, energy beams from multiple arrays struck at once, destroying several enemy ships in a single volley. The explosion lit up the viewports, the debris spinning harmlessly into space. Lyra gasped. "They are listening to him," she said softly. "They are following his plan and it works." Evan moved to the next station. "Reposition your energy shields," he instructed. "We cannot let any ship pass through the rear. Hold the line. Remember, coordination is everything. Trust each other. Fire together." The enemy regrouped and attacked again. This time, the combined firepower of the station and the human strategy worked. Ships were destroyed faster than they could reach the station. Evan's calm presence kept everyone focused, even as alarms continued to blare. Minutes felt like hours. The battle was intense, but Evan's guidance never wavered. He moved among the stations, speaking quietly, observing, adjusting. He reminded the council and pilots that fear would not win, that they had the power to survive if they acted together. Finally, the enemy retreated. Some ships escaped, but the majority had been destroyed. The station shook slightly from the impact of the last explosions, but it remained intact. The council members cheered quietly, their fear replaced by relief and admiration. Lyra ran to Evan and grabbed his arm. "You did it," she said. "You saved us again, just like before." Evan looked at her, smiling faintly. "We did it together," he said. "You all followed the plan. Courage is not only mine, it is yours too." Myra approached, her face serious but grateful. "You have shown us what humans can do. Not only with strength, but with strategy, focus, and courage. You are more than a visitor, Evan Brooks. You are a friend, a hero to our people." Evan nodded. He had faced many battles, many enemies, but nothing compared to this moment. Here he had not only saved lives in the moment, but inspired an entire people. He had reminded them of courage, strategy, and trust, and for that he felt a deep satisfaction. Lyra looked at him with wide eyes. "I will never forget this," she said. "Not only did you save us once, but you saved us again. You are amazing." Evan chuckled softly. "I'm just doing what humans do," he said. "We stand when others cannot, and we fight when it matters most. That is all." The council members began to organize repairs, while Evan and Lyra watched the station stabilize. The young girl had seen fear, chaos, and destruction, but she had also seen hope, courage, and human strength. And she understood now why humans were respected across the galaxy. For Evan, this was another reminder. He had faced impossible odds before. He had saved lives, carried children to safety, and risked himself in countless battles. But seeing the result of his guidance, seeing the unity and courage of the aliens, and seeing Lyra's gratitude, it reminded him why humans could make a difference. The station was safe, for now. The enemy fleet had retreated, but Evan knew that vigilance was necessary. He had taught the council and pilots that courage and strategy could overcome fear, that clear thinking and trust could defeat overwhelming odds. Lyra smiled at him, her eyes shining. "You are still the hero I remember," she said, "even after all these years." Evan shook his head, smiling. "I am not a hero," he said. "I am just someone who tries to do the right thing. Courage is not about fame. It is about standing when others cannot, and today all of you stood. I only guided you." The council members nodded, impressed and inspired. Myra placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder, proud of her daughter's courage in observing the battle and learning from it. Evan felt the quiet satisfaction of a mission accomplished, but more than that, he felt hope. Hope that humans and aliens could work together. Hope that courage could echo across worlds. Hope that even in chaos, there was a way to survive if one acted with wisdom, bravery, and trust. And Lyra, once a frightened child, now understood what bravery looked like. Not loud or boastful, but calm, steady, and determined. The human who had saved her had taught her not only the value of life, but the meaning of courage. After the battle, the station was quiet again. The alarms had stopped, and the smoke and sparks from the destroyed ships slowly faded from the viewports. Evan stood in the command chamber, watching the alien pilots and council members repair systems and check the defenses. He felt a strange mix of relief and alertness. The enemy had retreated, but he knew better than to trust them completely. "Evan," Myra said, stepping beside him, "there is more news. Human reinforcements are on their way. Ships are coming to help us defend the station fully." Evan raised his eyebrows. "Human reinforcements? How soon?" "Minutes," Myra said. "They were already in the sector, monitoring the situation. They received our distress signal and are heading here at full speed." Evan nodded. He had always trusted humans to act quickly when lives were at stake. Good, that will make our defense stronger. But we cannot rely on them entirely. We need to hold the station until they arrive. Lyra, standing close, looked at him with wide eyes. Humans again? She asked. More of them. Yes, Evan said. And they will help us finish what we started, but we have to be ready. Outside the station, the void of space was alive with movement. Alien ships moved carefully, repairing shields and repositioning weapons. Suddenly, streaks of white light appeared in the distance. Evan squinted at the viewports. Human ships were approaching, sleek and fast, their metal hulls reflecting the light of distant stars. The first of the human ships, led by pilot Ryan Cole, arrived above the station. He was a young man, confident but serious, his eyes scanning for threats. He had flown with Evan before on smaller missions, but this was a large-scale operation. Behind him came others, including Sarah Miller and a team of experienced pilots. Evan spoke into the station comms. Ryan, you are cleared to engage. Focus on clearing the remaining enemy ships. Support the station defenses. We cannot let them breach the shields. Yes, sir, Ryan's voice replied. We will handle it. Lyra watched the humans in awe. She had only seen one human before, Evan, and now there were many. The ships moved in coordinated patterns, weaving through space, firing energy pulses that struck the enemy ships with deadly precision. The station's defenders, inspired by Evan's previous leadership, coordinated with the humans, creating a network of firepower that was hard to break. Evan moved quickly among the command stations, giving instructions to the aliens. Focus on flanks, he shouted. Don't waste fire on ships already disabled. Target the ones that are moving fast. Trust the humans to support you. The battle outside became intense. The enemy ships tried to regroup and attack from multiple directions, but the combined human-alien force was too organized. Explosions lit up the void, ships were destroyed in bursts of fire, and debris floated harmlessly away from the station. Lyra ran beside her mother, watching the fight unfold. She could see the humans in action, agile, precise, and fearless. She had never seen anything like it. They moved like a team, each knowing what the other would do, and at the center of it all was Evan, calm, observing, directing, leading. Myra placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. This is the human way, she said softly. Strength is important, but coordination, planning, and trust make them stronger than any weapon. Evan's voice came over the station comms again. Prepare the main turrets for concentrated fire. When I give the signal, all fire at once. Timing is crucial. The alien pilots obeyed, adjusting positions and preparing their energy weapons. The humans followed the plan without hesitation. Moments later, Evan gave the command. Fire! Energy beams from the station's turrets struck the enemy ships in a precise pattern. Explosions erupted across the battlefield, destroying several enemy vessels at once. Human ships swooped in, taking down the remaining ships with speed and skill. The enemy was pushed back, retreating rapidly. Lyra gasped. It's amazing, she said. They are so fast and coordinated, and Evan, he is guiding all of them. Evan nodded to her, his eyes scanning the battle. This is why humans are respected, he said. We act together, we plan, we trust each other. Courage alone is not enough, it must be guided by skill. The battle continued for hours. Some enemy ships managed to break through minor defenses, but human pilots were always there to intercept. Evan coordinated repairs, directed fire, and gave orders calmly, never panicking. He reminded everyone to stay focused, to trust each other, and to remember their goal: protect the station and its people. At one point, a large enemy ship appeared, stronger and more heavily armed than the others. It fired a massive energy beam that struck part of the station, shaking the hull. Alarms blared and the council members shouted in panic. Lyra froze, clutching her mother's arm. Evan did not flinch. He quickly assessed the situation. Target its engines, he shouted. Focus all firepower on disabling it. Human ships flank it from both sides. The humans responded immediately. Ryan Cole's ship dove in close, firing precise energy blasts at the enemy's engines. Sarah Miller's ship and others followed, coordinating their attack. Alien turrets fired in sync, creating a pattern that trapped the enemy ship. Slowly, the massive vessel slowed, then exploded in a bright burst of light. Lyra's eyes were wide. "They did it," she cried. "Evan, you did it again." Evan shook his head. "We did it together. All of us, humans and aliens working as one." Myra approached him, her face serious but proud. "Your presence has changed this battle," she said. "Your guidance, your courage, your skill, it inspired everyone. Humans and our people together can overcome almost anything." Outside, the remaining enemy ships retreated, moving away from the station as fast as they could. The combined forces of humans and aliens had won decisively. The station's shields were intact, the defenses repaired, and the people safe. Evan took a deep breath. He had led in many battles before, but this felt different. This was not just a fight for survival, it was a demonstration of what humans could do. Their courage, skill, and teamwork had turned the tide and inspired a new level of respect from an entire alien civilization. Lyra ran to him, her eyes shining with admiration and relief. "I can't believe it," she said. "Humans are amazing, and you were incredible. You led everyone perfectly." Evan smiled faintly. "I didn't do it alone. You and your people followed the plan. Humans arrived to help. Courage and teamwork won this day, not just me." Myra placed her hand on Lyra's shoulder. "Evan, your actions will be remembered for generations. You have shown us what humans are capable of. You are more than a visitor, you are a hero to our people." Lyra looked at him, still breathless from the excitement. "I will never forget this day," she said. "I will tell everyone how humans helped us, how they fought with courage, and how you guided everyone. You are unforgettable." Evan shook his head, smiling. "I am not unforgettable. I am just a human trying to do what is right. But I am glad to see that our actions can inspire hope. That is what matters." The council members began organizing the station, repairing systems, and checking for any remaining threats. Humans and aliens worked side by side, sharing skills and knowledge. Evan observed quietly, proud of what had been accomplished. The enemy had been driven back, the station was safe, and a bond between humans and this alien civilization had been strengthened. Lyra watched him carefully. She had seen fear, chaos, and danger, but she had also seen courage, leadership, and human skill. And she understood now why humans were respected across galaxies. They were not just strong, they were brave, intelligent, and willing to risk everything for others. Evan took a moment to breathe. He had led, guided, and fought alongside others. He had inspired hope, courage, and teamwork. And he had done it not for glory, but because it was the right thing to do. Myra approached him one last time before the council meeting ended. "Evan Brooks," she said, "our people owe you more than words can express. You have proven that humans are capable of great things. And you have shown us that courage and wisdom together can change the course of history." Evan nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "I only did what anyone would do," he said softly, "but I am glad to see it made a difference." Lyra smiled at him, her eyes bright and full of admiration. "You made a difference in my life once," she said, "and now you made a difference for all of us. I will never forget it." The station was safe. The enemy fleet was gone. Humans and aliens stood together, united by courage and trust. And Evan realized something important. Heroism was not about fame or recognition. It was about standing firm when others could not, acting with intelligence and courage, and inspiring hope in everyone around you. For Lyra, it was a lesson she would carry forever. For the aliens, it was proof that humans could be trusted allies. And for Evan, it was a reminder that courage, skill, and teamwork could truly change the fate of worlds. The battle was over, but the story of courage, trust, and heroism had only just begun. The battle was over, and the station slowly returned to normal. Alarms had stopped, fires were extinguished, and the hum of machinery filled the corridors again. Outside, human ships patrolled the perimeter, ensuring no enemy ships returned. Evan Brooks stood near a viewport, watching the stars. The calm after chaos always felt strange to him, but he had learned to accept it. Lyra approached him, her green skin glowing softly in the dim light. She smiled, though there was a hint of exhaustion in her eyes. "I can't believe it's really over," she said. "We survived and the station is safe." Evan turned to her. "We did it together," he said. "Humans, aliens, and you all working as one. That is what made the difference." Myra, her mother, joined them. She looked at Evan with deep respect. "You have done more than we could have hoped," she said. "Not only did you lead us, you inspired us. You showed that courage and teamwork can overcome even the greatest danger." Evan shook his head. "I only did what humans do. We stand when others cannot. We fight when it matters most. That is all." Lyra's eyes softened. "You've done more than that. You've shown me what it means to be brave, to act even when scared, and to care for others. I will never forget it." Myra nodded. "And neither will our people. Your actions will be told in stories for generations. You have changed the future of our civilization." Evan felt a lump in his throat. He had faced countless battles, but nothing had prepared him for the weight of gratitude from an entire species. He had always believed in doing the right thing, but hearing it expressed so clearly left him quiet for a moment. The council chamber doors opened, and more aliens entered. They came to offer thanks, bowing their heads in respect. Some placed their hands over their hearts. Others spoke quietly among themselves, their words respectful and full of admiration. The feeling in the room was different from any military debrief he had experienced. It was personal, heartfelt, and lasting. Lyra led Evan through the hallways. Everywhere he went, aliens greeted him with bows, nods, or quiet words of thanks. Children peeked around corners, curious and wide-eyed. Adults whispered to each other, pointing at him with respect. It was overwhelming, but Evan remained calm, smiling faintly and nodding in acknowledgement. They reached a large chamber at the center of the station. Holograms projected images of the battle, showing human and alien cooperation. Explosions, maneuvers, and moments of courage played in sequence, as if telling the story of the day in real time. Lyra gestured to the display. "This is for you," she said. "For everyone to see what humans did, what you did. Even when the enemy seemed unstoppable, you showed us how to survive. You showed us hope." Evan looked at the images. He saw humans and aliens working side by side, following plans, covering each other, and facing danger without hesitation. He saw himself directing the battle, but it felt strange to watch from this perspective. It was not just about fighting, it was about leadership, coordination, and trust. Myra approached him again. "You may think you were only a soldier," she said, "but to us, you are more. You are a symbol of courage, a living example of what humanity can achieve. You have reminded us that life is worth protecting and that even the smallest acts of bravery can change history." Evan shook his head. "I am not special," he said. "I only acted because it was the right thing to do. Anyone would have done the same if they could." Lyra's smile grew. "Not everyone would," she said. "I remember what you did when I was a child. You could have left me behind, but you didn't. You acted when it mattered most. That is why you are remembered. That is why humans are respected." Outside, the human ships began to leave. They had ensured the station was secure and that the enemy had retreated far enough to prevent immediate return. Ryan Cole and Sarah Miller reported back, acknowledging that the station was safe and that the aliens had managed repairs well under guidance. Evan watched them leave, feeling a quiet pride. He had led, he had guided, and he had protected. But the real impact was clear in Lyra's eyes, in Myra's words, and in the gratitude of the entire alien species. Humans had made a difference, not just with weapons but with courage, strategy, and teamwork. Lyra took a deep breath. "Now what happens?" she asked. "The enemies are gone, but what about the future? Will humans help us again if needed?" Evan smiled. "That is the hope," he said. "Humans do not forget the lives they save. If your people ever need help, we will answer. But for now, you are safe. That is enough." Myra stepped closer. "And we will never forget your actions, Evan. You have built a bond between our people and yours, one that will last for generations. You have proven that trust and courage can cross even the greatest distances." Evan nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "That is all I could hope for," he said. "That the lives we saved, the people we protected, can live and thrive. That is the real reward." Lyra reached out and took his hand. "Thank you," she said simply, "for saving me, for saving my people, for showing us courage. I will never forget it, and I will try to be brave too, like you." Evan felt a warmth in his chest. "You already are brave," he said. "You survived, you learned, you helped. Courage is not about doing everything yourself. It is about standing with others when it matters." Myra placed her hands together. "We have seen what humans can do," she said. "You have proven that life is worth protecting, that courage is worth honoring, and that even in the darkest moments, hope can survive." The council members gathered around, nodding in agreement. Some stepped forward to shake Evan's hand. Others simply bowed their heads in respect. Lyra smiled proudly, watching her mother and her people express gratitude to the human who had changed their world. Evan looked around the chamber. He had fought many battles, seen many dangers, and risked his life countless times. But this moment was different. This was not a victory measured in destroyed ships or captured territory. This was victory measured in lives saved, trust built, and hope restored. The alien children, curious and bold, approached him quietly. Some touched his uniform, others just stared in awe. Evan knelt down, smiling gently. "You are safe," he said. "That is all that matters." Lyra stood beside him, holding her mother's hand. "We will tell our children about you," she said. "About what humans can do, about how you led, protected, and inspired us. You are part of our story now." Evan felt a quiet satisfaction. He had done his duty, but the real impact was clear. His courage had inspired trust. His actions had created hope. His presence had forged a bond between humans and this alien civilization that could last for generations. Myra nodded again. "Evan Brooks," she said softly, "you have shown us that humanity is more than just a species. It is courage, wisdom, and the willingness to stand when others cannot. You have reminded us why life is worth fighting for." Evan looked at her, then at Lyra. "I only acted because it was right," he said, "but I am glad to see that it made a difference. That is all any of us can hope for." The aliens began organizing celebrations quietly. Songs and symbols of thanks were displayed across the station. Stories of the day would be told for generations about how humans arrived, how they guided the battle, and how one man, Evan Brooks, made a difference in a galaxy far from his own world. Lyra turned to him one last time. "I will never forget you," she said. "You saved my life once and you saved everyone today. I will tell everyone about your courage and I will do my best to honor it." Evan smiled. "That is more than enough," he said. "That is why we do it. Not for praise, not for fame, but to make a difference. To show that life is worth saving and that courage can overcome even the darkest odds." Myra's eyes glistened. "You have given our people hope, Evan," she said, "and that is the greatest gift of all." Evan looked around the room at Lyra, her mother, the council members, and the children. He realized that heroism was not about battles won or enemies destroyed. It was about standing firm, acting with courage, and inspiring others to do the same. It was about hope. Lyra smiled again, her heart full. She had seen fear, chaos, and danger, but she had also seen courage, leadership, and humanity at its best. And she would never forget the human who had changed her life and her people's future. Evan turned to the viewport, watching the stars. The station was safe. Humans and aliens had worked together. The battle had been won. and a bond had been formed that would last for generations, a reminder that courage, trust, and action could change the universe. He took a deep breath, feeling a quiet peace. The mission was over. The lives were saved. The future was brighter because humans had acted. And somewhere in the galaxy, a young alien girl would always remember the human who saved her life. The stars outside twinkled softly, and for the first time in a long while, Evan felt truly at peace. He had done his duty, inspired courage, and reminded the galaxy what humans could achieve. And that, he thought quietly, was enough.